What's in today's injections could eventually be on the menu.
A bill in Tennessee would require any food with a vaccine to have a clear label.
Basically, for the consumer, what we're looking at is just providing notification of the presence of such vaccine materials that are within the products. And so I do know of mRNA is one that they are looking at trying to add into right now lettuce for public consumption.
If researchers are successful, one day you could order a plant-based dish with protection from COVID-19.
I'm telling you, the Chinese have successfully loaded messenger RNA into milk.
The technology to make mRNA vaccines that changed the world.
I've got documents from the NIH from 2002 talking about integrating vaccines into foods. They've been working on integrating these into our food supply. They're moving forward with this.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Anna, and you're watching Anna Speaks Out. Thanks for being here. Are you interested in getting USA pasture-raised beef with no antibiotics or hormones ever shipped directly to your door from the ranch? Make sure you watch until the end of this video. So many of us here are probably familiar with the fact that oftentimes the animals whose meat that we eat are vaccinated against certain diseases, which results in some amount of those vaccine materials being present in the meat when we eat it. For example, just last month, March of 2023, the Federal Register, which is the daily journal of the United States government, proposed to amend the regulations governing the importation of certain animals, meat, and other animal products by allowing, under certain conditions, the importation of fresh, chilled or frozen beef from Paraguay. And that was because the Argentine, Brazilian, and Uruguayan governments all require that cattle be vaccinated for FMD, or foot and mouth disease. Now, it turns out that researchers have been for a while working on actually converting certain foods into vaccines themselves. So you could eat a salad, for example, and be getting vaccinated. In November of 2019, the NIH website published an article called Edible Vaccines, Promises and Challenges, in which they stated, quote, "At present, edible vaccine are developed for veterinary and human use, but the main challenge faced by edible vaccine is its acceptance by the population so that it is necessary to make aware the society about its use and benefits." So of course then we have had some entertaining and informative productions all about edible vaccines, such as these examples here.
In 2006, the first plant-based vaccine was approved in the US for chickens. And while this technology is still not widely used, it gives us an idea where vaccines might be headed and why we might want them to go the way of the Beyond Burger. We might want them to go the way of the Beyond Burger. Genetic engineers transfer certain genes from the virus into the plant's genome. Those genes make viral proteins that appear in the plant's tissues or seeds, and then just eating the plant could provide immunity. No need for a shot. Which would just be so much more convenient than having to vaccinate a population with shots.
Edible vaccines present exciting possibilities for significantly reducing various diseases such as measles, hepatitis B, cholera, diarrhea, etc., mainly in developing countries. Foods under such application include potato, banana, lettuce, corn, soybean, rice, and legumes. They are easy to administer, easy to store, and readily acceptable delivery system for different age group patients, yet cost-effective.
Edible vaccines are a novel and innovative approach to vaccine delivery that have the potential to revolutionize the way we protect against diseases. It involves introduction of selected, desired genes into plants and then inducing these altered plants to manufacture the encoded proteins.
What if there was a better, cheaper way to deliver vaccines? That was the idea behind edible vaccines grown using bananas.
About 2 years after that initial NIH article that we looked at was written in 2021, the University of California website stated that UC Riverside scientists are studying whether they can turn edible plants like lettuce into mRNA vaccine factories. So what actually is mRNA, you might ask? According to Pfizer themselves, mRNA, or messenger RNA, is a molecule that contains the instructions or recipe that directs the cells to make a protein using its natural machinery. Once it's inside, our cells read the mRNA as a set of instructions, building proteins that match up with parts of the pathogen called antigens. The immune system sees these foreign antigens as invaders, dispatching defenders called antibodies and T cells and training the immune system for potential future attacks. So the thing that concerns me the most about this technology is that the makers of it can essentially reprogram your cells in ways that, for all we know, we might not want them to be reprogrammed. I don't think I want mine reprogrammed at all. And also, as would probably be expected, China has gone ahead and done their own thing beyond what the United States has done with this technology as well.
Was it not on your Substack? I saw some folks in a lab are working at trying to put the mRNA in milk so they can get the unvaccinated, so-called vaccinated through milk. Was that on your Substack? I saw that today.
Yeah, the news broke on my Substack. The Chinese, Zhang and colleagues, this is a stunning development. Zhang and colleagues took a restricted number of base pairs from the Wuhan spike protein, 675 base pairs of the receptor binding domain in genetic code, so synthetic messenger RNA, and they were able to make phospholipid packets out of the milk, the exosomes, and then keep it in milk. And then they injected the milk into the intestines of mice, Brandon, and within a few weeks, the mice started developing antibodies against that spike protein code that was in the messenger RNA. So I'm telling you, the Chinese have successfully loaded messenger RNA into milk, and it didn't break down. It crossed the gastrointestinal tract. This is a whole new era now of messenger RNA threats to populations.
The following year, which was just about 1 year ago now at the making of this video, PubMed Central from the NIH published an article about emerging trends of edible vaccine therapy for combating human diseases, especially C19, pros, cons, and future challenges. In the abstract, they said, nowadays, plants are considered as a potential source for the production of monoclonal antibodies, vaccines, drugs, and the scientific evidences enlighten that plants are the rich source of oral vaccines, which can be given either by eating the edible parts of plants or by oral administration of highly refined proteins. So in short, this is a thing that is definitely being attempted to be accomplished, which is why several states have been proposing bills to at least disclose to consumers if there are vaccines present in the food. That same PubMed Central article said, in order to prepare the edible vaccine, the plant is genetically modified to express antigens in its edible part. When the edible part is consumed, it induces an immune response. Edible vaccines for hepatitis, diarrhea, rabies, cholera, and cystic fibrosis are under clinical trials. And you can see here that some of the research that has gone into this topic has dated to as far back as 1991. You saw in the intro that there have been bills proposed to advise consumers about the presence of vaccines in foods in Tennessee and Idaho, and it turns out that there is a third bill that has been proposed in the state of Missouri, which is HB 1169. The blog Daily Clout by the Vigilant Fox, as they call themselves, who I came across on Twitter recently, shared an interview on April 3rd of 2023 between Dr. Naomi Wolf and attorney Tom Renz, sharing some important information about this bill.
So now let's move on, if we may, in our last few minutes to your latest concern, which is a bill, as I understand it, which you're wanting to call attention, which is about GMO food and DNA. Will you speak to that, please?
Yeah, and it's actually, I want to just drill right down what this is. And we know this has happened. I've got documents from the NIH from 2002 talking about integrating vaccines into foods.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah. So what we've got going on is the mRNA gene therapy type drugs. And by the way, when I say that, just for anybody that doesn't know, I have Moderna's documents. They call it a gene therapy. This is settled, right? I mean, unless you want to argue with Moderna and Pfizer themselves, this is gene therapy. They've been working on integrating these into our food supply. They've been working on it for more than at least 2 decades. Okay, so at least 2 decades. They're moving forward with this. So I have a friend that works with me and she got elected to the House of Representatives in Missouri. And, we talked with her, and she sponsored a bill that would require, it doesn't ban anything. Okay, we wrote this bill, we worked with them, I helped them with this bill. It was written in a way that was meant to be as easy to pass and as hard to oppose as possible. And all it does is it does three things. It requires labeling and disclosure of any product that has any gene therapy qualities. It requires that if you have a product on the market that has gene therapy qualities, that you, Naomi, anyone can call the company and say, hey, how does this spread? Is there a way that this can spread? And they have to disclose it. And then the third part is it requires informed consent. And informed consent includes serious events of adverse events of special interest. And it requires informed consent before you be given anything with the gene therapy or medicinal properties. Very straightforward. You can read it. It's House Bill 1169 in Missouri. This has become the most contentious bill in Missouri history. So I go and I testify about this bill, which wasn't supposed to happen. It's only through the great people in Missouri calling and screaming and calling their legislatures. And by the way, I just put on my Twitter feed, I listed the lobbyists opposing this along with the contact information of the people in the committee, because we're playing hard.
Yeah.
You call these lobbyists, you ask the Farm Bureau why it is that they don't think that the farmers would want to know if their crops are being poisoned.
Yeah.
But so we put this out there, and here's the response. They can't come out. Big Pharma can't come out and say we oppose disclosure and transparency.
Right.
So what they did was they went to the ag community. They went to these guys and said, hey, we need you to oppose this. Now, remember, the two largest holders of ag in this country are Bill Gates and the CCP.
Yeah.
So these guys throw money at these guys, buy off these guys. They're not representing the local farmers. But the reason that I thought this was important enough to come on a big show like this and talk about it is if I pass this bill in Missouri, those disclosures and the ability to get that information apply globally. So we've got to get everybody on the planet calling these guys, telling them, you got to pass this. You got to stand for we the people. All it is transparency and disclosure. We don't even ban it. They can still make their poison foods. I just need to know if I'm eating it.
So at this point, I'm sure we are all very inspired to find a good source of clean, safe food that we know that we can trust. So let me tell you a little bit more about the steak that I was mentioning at the beginning. The cows are pasture raised on a ranch in the Pacific Northwest, and there are never ever any added hormones or antibiotics. They offer only prime or high choice cuts, but the prices are still way lower than every other subscription box out there because they skip the middlemen and ship directly to you from the ranch. I also love that the calves are raised by their own mothers as God intended, which I'm not going to lie, it makes me almost tear up as a nursing mother myself. So if that sounds like something that would be a benefit to you and your family, let's talk. Thank you again so much for being here today. Since you liked the video enough to make it all the way to the end, don't forget to click the thumbs up and share with somebody else who would also find it interesting. Leave your comments and we will all have a conversation. If you really liked it, check out the description for several different ways that you can support. Have a wonderful night, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever time zone you're in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.